Hi, I'm Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
Hi, welcome everybody back to the Gamekeepers podcast here, and we're in the mole hole in the heart and soul of the building.
Studio.
Yeah, and today we've got Austin Delano sitting in with us.
Our very own.
Yeah, it's a great day. So we got Austin over here on my right. I'm Bobby Cole right here kind of in the center. We got Lanny Wallace across the table sitting there. We got Dudley Phelps over here to my left, and our producer, Jason Cleveland, is sitting on a stool over there in the corner. So
Perched up there like a turkey.
Yeah. So, today's going to be a fun show. We've got David Lindsey will be calling in, and we can talk to him about
He's killed a couple good deer.
Yes, 2 huge deer.
And something about it was 2 of the largest deer he's ever taken in Georgia. Was it a week or 10 days?
I think that's right.
Something like that.
After 4.5 decades of hunting the same area.
Well,
it came together twice.
The one story about this one deer that was 9.5 years old, I can't wait to hear that. I've just heard little bits and pieces of it. So,
but he's been keeping up with him that long.
Yeah.
They personify gamekeeping. The whole family. They really do.
Yeah,
you're right. The whole family.
Yeah.
I mean, Miss Wanda.
And saying a deer is 9 years old and then having proof that he's 9 years old is 2 totally different things.
Yeah.
And they've got it with the sheds.
They do. And I don't ever find that many sheds. Do y'all find a lot of sheds?
I don't know. I think all the squirrels eat them around here.
We're so thick.
Let me tell you where I find them. In my tires.
Yeah.
Run over them. Tractor, truck, 4-wheeler.
That's not good.
The only way, consistent place we found them is thickets in, Gainesville. Used to walk, the big contiguous tracks we would find, like Portland.
Mm-hmm.
You'd get on those deer trails and just walk till you came out of the other side and find them. But not like they do in the Midwest, that's for sure.
I'm one of the rare people that would rather just turkey hunt or something than walk around looking for sheds.
Mm-hmm. If I see one, that's cool.
Right.
Otherwise, I got stuff to do.
We should plan a podcast in the future about, because there are some people that rig up little traps to try to knock off antlers in the spring of the year, and we can discuss that, whether or not that's a smart thing to do, or because you don't want a buck to get hung up in something. But
an antler trap of sorts.
Yeah, there was a guy in Jackson, Tennessee that sent us some pictures of one time, and basically it's just a roll of wire around, near some feed, and then while the deer's feeding, he gets his antlers hung in there. Yeah.
The consensus from several people that I've talked to said that was a no-no.
Because if they're not ready to come off, it could be a problem.
You hung up. Mm-hmm. One of my most prized possessions is a set of shed antlers that I found in Alabama, though. Although I don't look for them much. But they did come from Portland.
And they were both sides?
Yeah, both sides, and he's over 160.
Oh my God. Where are these? I hadn't seen these.
I'll bring them next week.
These aren't at the office? You've got them at home?
No, they're
in the safe.
No, I mean, they're over there by the megalodon tooth.
Megalodon tooth.
Isn't that what the big fish, big shark is? Yeah.
That's exactly.
Just a couple of artifacts.
There's been a few of them found in Alabama.
Yeah.
So look, what about lunch today? That was incredible.
Man, I love elk meat.
So
what was it called? It was some kind of Mexican something?
Well, it started out saying, "Hey, Vandy, go get some taco seasoning and some shells and let's make elk tacos." And he comes back with 30 avocados and
limes,
14 and brand new things of seasoning, and
Vandy,
he did it up.
He doesn't point.
He doesn't just barely do it.
No, lunch is his game.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah, he's good at lunch.
You feel nutritionally complete after elk meat.
You really do.
It's amazing.
It is a whole different level, especially from a whitetail eater.
That was a lot of protein for lunch, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, Bobby.
Good fats with avocados.
Mm-hmm. Had some beans.
Well,
leftovers tomorrow.
And we did run down the road to the Mexican restaurant and pick up a big old thing of salsa. It was great.
Yeah.
Well, elk season is in full swing.
That's right.
Yeah. And so when do you leave?
A week. Well, I'll leave a week from tomorrow. So I'm pretty pumped up. Been running around here trying to get all my stuff lined up.
You feel pretty confident?
I don't want to. I just want to enjoy the hunt.
What are you looking for? What are your expectations?
I'm a meat guy. I mean, we don't have to. My expectation is hopefully I'll bring home some meat.
So are you potentially? A cow would make you happy?
I don't think I can shoot a cow with a tag I have, unfortunately. So I guess it's all bull.
So you're looking for something to bring home that's got 700 pounds of meat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, it's about the experience too. I was lucky enough to go out there last year and just get a little taste. I never thought, you think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, if you ask me. And so we actually had believe it or not, a landowner tag that was available last year at the last minute that I got lucky enough to jump on. So, but then we put in the draw this year and actually got drawn. So I'll get to hunt bull elk in New Mexico.
Don't say the unit.
Don't worry. 2 years in a row.
Should have bought a lottery ticket drawing 2 years in a row.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Well, the first year was a landowner tag.
That's true.
Yeah.
Still.
That somebody else paid for, so.
Well, then,
Awesome.
so
Even better.
deer season comes in here in Mississippi here.
This week.
It comes in October 1st.
Yeah, everybody's been, Dudley's been back there with the recurve, tuning her down.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's walking around with their bows.
It opens tomorrow, y'all.
Boom. Golly.
Yeah.
And parts of Alabama for the first time ever.
Is that right? So
On October 1st. Great.
So not realizing what day it was, I sent a text to everybody saying, hey, let's set up a range and shot in our rifles at lunch this week and then be done with it and not have to worry about that later on, And of course, I included Toxie in the text string, and he was like, you do know it's bow season starts in a couple of days. And I'm like, yes, I do, but I also need to just check rifles.
He reminisces about those days we used to bow hunt so much because we did. I don't know whether it's the faster pace of things that everything
We're just so
else
busy
just
right
time,
now.
man.
It
Yeah,
really
when
is busy. Right now the phones are going crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Tis the Gamekeepers time of year.
it is. So speaking of phones, do y'all want to let's go ahead and call Mr. David and get that started?
Yeah.
I told him we'd call him about 3 o'clock, and we're closing in on 3 o'clock. So why don't we do this? Why don't we pay some bills, run some commercials, and then producer Cleveland can get Mr. David on the phone.
The Gamekeeper magazine is our life outdoors on paper.
We love Gamekeepers magazine.
It's full of great information.
Full of ideas on how to make the habitat better.
From plots to trees
to whitetails and waterfowl.
It's total farm management,
There's so much information in Gamekeepers.
especially when it comes to managing your property.
You can't go wrong if you want to improve your habitat for wildlife.
Pick up our Gamekeepers magazine.
Gamekeepers, the Journal of Wildlife Stewardship.
Hey, Mr. David.
Hey,
Hey, this is Bobby Cole, and I got Lanny and Dudley, and Austin's actually here with us today, and we just wanted to talk to you a little bit.
Hey, David.
well, you got quite a group there.
We got the whole B team here.
That's right.
That sounds like the A team to me.
We just don't boast a whole lot around here.
I hear you. Sound like y'all having fun.
We always have fun. So did you just
Sound like
get
my
back?
kind of guys.
Did you just get back from elk hunting?
I just got back from elk guiding.
Oh,
But yes, I was hunting too, but I was guiding my wife on her hunt, so we had a lot of fun.
So you were actually just a pack mule.
That's exactly what I was, sir. You're exactly. That's what they actually call me that.
Wow.
Well, did Miss Wanda have any luck?
Oh yeah, she got her an elk.
That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
awesome.
Yeah.
Dudley's been talking about her
sure
elk
did.
lasagna. That's all I've been hearing about today is Miss Wanda's elk lasagna.
Yeah, when I came to visit you guys in Georgia 3 or 4 years ago, she cooked this elk lasagna that I still think about to this day. It was hard to beat.
Yeah, she's good cook.
Dudley's over here he's almost like he's got tears in his eyes.
I want some of this elk lasagna. He's been talking about it so much. So
well, before we get off, I need to bring up, and Lanny knows all about it, but with Gamekeepers now, we have this new thing called Gamekeeper Meats.
Yes, Gamekeeper Butchery, actually.
Yeah.
But the web address is gamekeepermeats.com.
So a guy can order.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story. But it's all about providing farm-raised wild game to deliver to your door, basically. You can't buy, deer meat and venison, but there's you obviously, like biologic, a lot of farm-raised venison comes from New Zealand. So we just wanted to make it available to consumers out there. So, yeah, we're just getting started. So excited about that. Gamekeeper Butchery.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah.
What's the website again?
Gamekeepermeats.com.
We had a lot of fun sampling all of that stuff and trying to decide what we were going to carry. And
yeah, Mr. David, I've never had store-bought deer meat before, but I got to tell you, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, they probably feed them the best they can feed them there, about like in Iowa deer.
Yeah, it's a whole other story about that, and we don't have time to go into it. We need to get in there because it ties directly into biologic and everything there. But it's a kind of we just hit the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we'll just have to do a whole show about this.
Yeah,
so we'll put that on the radar.
Right.
Well, look here, Mr. David, we'd love for you to. We're so impressed with what you guys do and how you do it, and I'd love to get you to talk about these 2 deer that you killed in the last couple of weeks there in Georgia, especially Mr. Mumbles, and just kind of tell us a little bit about that.
All right. Well, I'll do my best to try to give you as much detail as I can about it. And, well, we always start off our hunting season in Georgia because that's the first season that always opens down south. And we have a farm down there that I bought back in 1999. It was a piece of land that I'd always dreamed of having, in your mind. And it just worked out that I was able to buy it. And when I bought it, back then we were reading magazines, just doing whatever. This is really for a whole lot of this stuff about, I guess, food plots and doing the things that attract deer. It was out there, but it wasn't much. And, you just, every book you could read, and somehow or another I got on to planting trees, and basically that farm is it's a pine tree farm. We grow pine tree on it. We have some farmland on it, but basically more that we do. I've had some farmers that farmed it in the past, back in the early 2000s, but since then we kind of just done it ourselves. And we always start out in Georgia, and we try to hunt that first week. And you know how all these boys in the South are. I mean, it's hot as all get out, but it won't keep you out of tree come first season. I mean, it's just when you wait all year for it, you're going to climb that tree if it's 90 degrees. And just the way we were raised, and we can complain about the mosquitoes and the heat and everything that goes with it, but we still just sit there. Mm-hmm. But this year, well, I could go back to last year. As y'all know, last year we hunted that first week in Georgia, and it was in the 90s. And, you're lucky to see a good buck. If you can catch them, in a certain spot or whatever, you can do good, but we built this lake on our farm probably about 15 years ago, about 12 years ago, about a 20-acre lake. And from the crop fields, when the deer go to bed, they have to funnel around that lake unless they bed close to the food, So Jeff and I have learned that we kind of set some stands up in the areas where we can hunt. Cause we always have a east wind that first week, just that with the heat and all, it just seems to blow from out east. So we've got a couple of morning spots that we can slip into while the deer are still out in the fields, and hopefully catch them coming through those funnels back to their beds in the morning. And that's pretty much what happened to me opening morning. I was in my favorite tree, that I have on the farm. And this deer actually come from the north, and I think he caught wind of Jeff on the hill, where Jeff hunts high, and I hunt down by the lake, and the deer come down kind of like in a little bit of a run. And I could see, trying to get my binoculars on him and see him. He was still in velvet and all, and he come running by, and I stopped him probably about 30 yards or so. And luckily, I just thank the good Lord made a good shot on him. He ran off, and we heard him crash. And Jeff, who was up on the hill, he could actually hear him crash too, because he was only a few hundred yards. You know, we just try to cover this one area up there. So, man, I was just blessed that deer come by me that morning, and opening morning success. It don't happen often, but it was nice when it did, you know.
Yeah, that's always good.
Well, looking at the pictures, it looked like it may have rained on y'all right there at the time when all that action occurred.
Well, I shot the deer, and we heard him go over there thrashing, and we knew he was close, but you know how it is. It's just so thick. We got down, we started looking for him, and we couldn't find but a little bit of blood, and the bottom fell out, and it rained for about 15 minutes, just poured on us. But we knew he was there because we heard him crash, you know. So we were soaking wet, and we went over there, and we finally, you know, we couldn't find no blood because the rain had washed it away. But we found him amongst some trees, and they're just all tangled up. He had tore about half his velvet off, but
oh wow,
he was still pretty.
He is a beautiful deer. He sure is. Well, that's just half of the story.
Right.
I mean, that's just part A.
Uno
to an unbelievable story. And so the next week, we want to hear about the story of Mr. Mumbles and how you know that how you've had so many encounters with him without seeing him.
Well, I mean, you know, I could tell the story real short because, you know, the deer had been on our farm up until last year when we figured he was 8.5, assuming that we do have the shed from him at 3.5 up to last year. We had one side that would have been 8.5. And we, of our knowledge, had never seen the deer. You know, we'll hunt that first week or two in Georgia. If we're lucky, we might get to come back and hunt that week of Thanksgiving or a week in December or something. But he's pretty much had just avoided us. And last year, when it was real hot, like I was saying, up in the 90s, one morning, Kyle and I caught a glimpse of him. And that's the first time we had ever saw the deer. And he had, last year, you know, he'd kind of been going downhill. Last year he had a drop tine on one side. And I was lucky enough on January when I was down on the farm, this past January, I picked up one side of the shed, and it was really weird. It was just shaped weird and everything about it. And I just thought, man, he's not going to be nothing next year. And Jeff and I, neither one of us had really focused on just trying to kill that deer and hunting him until just that last year when I got that, had that one encounter with him at 60 yards one morning. I just seen him just for a second. So this year he had kind of disappeared, and we hadn't had no pictures of him. Jeff says, "You know what? I'm afraid that deer's dead." He said, "I haven't had a picture of him in 3 weeks," and he had been hitting the feeder a lot. And then, we got to talking about it and said, well, maybe he's moved. So we started, you know, thinking about where he could have moved. And I've got a bunch of sawtooth trees that I planted in different areas in different times of the year. And so Jeff was hunting one afternoon, and he looked behind him, and he saw some deer in one of the little pods that I had planted. And he said, we might need to run a camera over there. So they went over and put a camera. We went over there and put a camera on it. And next morning we had a picture of him. So we knew he was coming up there rather than where I'd been hunting him the year before. So we went in there, and we got a picture of him the next morning. That hurricane, was it Sally?
It was.
Sally just blowed through, and the morning that she was finishing up, we did not hunt. And if we'd have hunted that morning, we probably wouldn't have been right there, but we had pictures of him in daylight. So we knew where we found the shed. We knew where we thought he was bedding at. And so basically, we put a couple more cameras out, and we had some persimmon trees. And we went back, and we had our Spartan cameras out there. So we got a picture of him at 6:30 at the Persimmons, and he was over to Sawtooth, you know, a little bit later. No, that was the morning before. So we knew he was over at the Persimmons that night. So basically, Jeff's got a stand right there at them persimmon trees, and we hunted it that evening, and we got a glimpse of him. And Kyle wasn't able to film him much because the way that stand sits up and the roll in the property of the field, I could see him come out. I said, Kyle, that's him. I know it was him, but I mean, I only had a few seconds to get my binoculars on him. And he stayed in that hole right there until dark. We didn't see him no more. And then that night or the next morning, we had a picture of him at 5. I said, well, he'll be back there. So we went back the next afternoon, and that was only the second time we'd ever seen that deer. And so we were sitting there tonight. I want to say it was like a Thursday afternoon or something. And I looked down there, and Kyle said, I see a deer out in that field. And I looked out there to look at a deer, and I saw Mr. Mumbles walk through an opening. And I was like, he was on his feet at 6:35. I was like, "Ooh, this might be good right here." And so, because we knew he was on his feet, he loved those sawtooths and he loved those persimmons. And I kept looking for him, and I had this coyote come up. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen a coyote get around a persimmon tree and eat the persimmon. But for about 15 minutes, and I tell you, I was so tempted to shoot him, but I was like, I said, here I am. I'm 200 yards from a deer that I ain't seen but 2 times. I'm not going to take a chance shooting a coyote because I didn't know which way he might run or what might happen, you know. And so I said, I'll get him another day. And we were sitting there about 45 minutes later. I could tell the does, though, was kind of moving around in that area next to those sawtooths. So I was hoping that he might come out and do what they did. And of course, I had deer behind me, and I was just praying. I done sprayed nose jammer all over the whole tree, trying to keep them from smelling me. I looked up there, man, and he didn't come straight across that field, but he cut the corner off, if you know what I'm saying. And and this is really, to me, you know, because I like to keep in my mind how deer, they don't, like the deer I killed opening day, he smelled Jeff, he'd come by. This deer was in his natural state. And for me to watch that deer come through there, and he'd stop, and, you know, and he'd put his nose up, he'd look around, and you'll get to see all that on the video, because Kyle, he did a great job videoing it. And the deer looked so good coming in there, and he'd stop so many times. I mean, he was just testing the patient. You know, it was so much drama right there, just and excitement. And I was like, man, it looks like we might get a shot at him, you know. To cut that corner of that field off, he'd take a few steps and stop, and take a few steps, and he'd be behind a tree, and you could see him turn his head. You didn't know what was going on because you got all these does around you, and they'll bust out and not knowing where that coyote went and all. So fortunately for me, he came on in and he got around the base of that persimmon tree. He started to turn one time for some reason, but then he turned back. And of course, I was talking to myself and asking the good Lord, please just, you know, help me hold it together long enough to get an arrow where it needed to go. And I don't know. I guess I probably talked to myself more over that deer than I have most deer that I see. It was almost exciting being in the blind with Bobby in Iowa this past year when you killed Hercules.
Hercules.
That was exciting.
We're waiting on Hercules to get back to the office.
Yeah,
I hear you.
He's almost ready, I think.
But is he really? Well, that'd be cool. Send me a picture if you will. When you get him, I'd love to see him.
Well, that's a great story. Man.
That is an amazing story.
It's amazing. In the South, you seem like, you know, the big deer that are killed early just seem to be around those persimmons there.
Yep.
Dudley.
Pretty magic.
Yeah. So
and you know, I made a good shot on him, and he ran through a thicket and heard him crashing. I'm like, man, he's gonna break them drop tines off, and he ran into a little field behind us, you know, and I seen him laying there, but I wasn't really to celebrate just right yet. I wanted to make sure he was dead, you know. But
yeah, got your hands on him.
How far was the shot?
It was probably about 32 yards, that same shot distance I had on that other buck.
How about that?
And my grandson, Do what?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you wouldn't have missed it. So my grandson, Jackson, he loves, and Cash too. You know, Jackson's a little bit older. He's 9. He didn't want me to take him to go hunt with me. And I was like, buddy, I can't put you in that tree, you know. And so I told him, I said, if I kill him, I'm going to call you. I want you to come over here. So his mama had wanted him to take a bath or something that night. He said, Mom, I can't take a bath. I'm going to help Pawpaw track this deer. And so it just kind of worked out. And everybody got to come down there, and we all tracked the deer together, and we just celebrated after that.
That's awesome.
I bet so.
It really, you know, that's one thing that about them and their family, and the TV show exposes that. But that's who they are, and they're not putting that. They're not doing that for the cameras. They're a close family. They do everything together, and those kids are just knee deep involved in all that stuff. And it is.
It's authentic.
It is authentic. That's the best word. Good word.
Yeah, one of the best Mossy Oak ambassadors we have, no doubt about it.
David, what was it like sitting in that tree with an history that long with a deer that was, for the most part, a ghost? Because I've followed deer like that drive you crazy. Getting pictures of them is not always that hard, and then when they disappear, you can come up with 9
scenarios. Worry about them.
You know, what just happened to them, and then all of a sudden see them on the hoof. It's just like the deer actually exist. It's not just something that shows up at 3:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, raise your hand. How many 9.5-year-old deer have you ever seen?
None.
Yeah, and you know, they're wild deer. I mean, he could have been 10.5. He could have been 8.5. And, you know, we don't know when they're free-range deer how old they really are. That's just kind of our guesstimate. But for me to see him that second time, and then the next night see him for the third time ever, I don't know. Jeff, it's like this, Jeffrey says. You know what? He said, they're slaves to their stomach. And when that food's out there, they're coming for it. And you just got to be able to catch them in that time. And one thing I mentioned in that story is that I was hunting out of Jeff's stand. You know,
there
Jeff,
you go.
He killed. And he had killed 2 deer out of that stand, 2 really good bucks off that farm out of that stand. And he could have very well been the one that had been there in that stand and shot that deer, but he wouldn't do it. He told me, he said, go get in that stand right there. He said, he's going to come back there. You know, so Jeff's a very unselfish person. I mean, he'll put everybody else first before he will himself.
Well, one of the things I find so interesting and compelling about deer that old is your chances of killing him are really slim to begin with. But when you talk about trying to kill him with archery equipment in the early season, if you added up all the minutes throughout the actual season that deer is legally killable, that he presents himself in the daylight, whether it be a food plot, under a persimmon tree, it's small.
It's tiny.
It's really small. I mean, there's probably some glimpses in the rut where he makes a few mistakes, but there's always a few spots out there in the early season where they haven't been pressured.
Got the radar down.
Yeah, they're still kind of relaxed, and man, it's tough to slip in there and maybe it's 20 minutes this day, the next day maybe it's 2 minutes, because you think you've got them patterned, and all of a sudden you get a picture and it's like, oh, he's nocturnal.
Yeah, I think they get a smell. I mean, they know you're in there.
It's just so quick.
Yeah, and you know, it's the one thing that's helped us a lot too over the last few years. Now in Georgia, you can put out feed, you can hunt over if you want to. We don't really like to go out there and pour out a pile and just hunt over and stuff like that, but we will put it out there in our feeders.
How do y'all's food plots look this year over there in Georgia?
You know, we planted about 3 food plots, Bobby, early on. They really, because with all that rain from Saturday and all, they've really done good. And, you know, we've been able to shoot some does over. This deer particularly, I didn't have a food plot in that area. Or he'd have been on it, I'm sure, you know, but it didn't work just right as far as his area. But those acorn trees is what he's loving. He was hitting them and them persimmons.
It's interesting, that part of Georgia. The rut is what? Is it in October?
Well, no, for us, it's really in Georgia. It hits about almost like it does in the Midwest. That first week of November up to about Thanksgiving, it's wide open.
Okay.
course, we're never there then. We're somewhere in Illinois or Kansas or Iowa or something.
Well, Bobby will come over and take care of your place for you. I mean, he ain't got no problem.
Yeah.
He's a
Hey,
good dude.
I wish somebody come over here, come over here and shoot some does too.
Well, we could do that.
He's good for that.
We need some meat for sure. We sure could.
Yeah, I need somebody to come over. Do what?
No, we were just all cutting up about we'd love to come do a meat hunt or something at some point. I can tell y'all this though, that I had so much fun hunting with them in Iowa.
I bet so.
But to see the family all together, and they're the real McCoys. They are, and they have so much fun. And those kids, he's gonna have his hands full as those little boys and little girls get older.
Yep.
That's when the fun really begins. Because then you got to do it all over again.
Anytime you guys want to get together and come hunting, you just let me know. We'll make time. I'd love to spend some time with y'all weekend or a few days during the week or whatever y'all can get away. I know it's tough for y'all, but man, we would love it.
Well, we appreciate that.
Sure do.
And look, we really appreciate what y'all do for our brand. With Gamekeepers and Biologic and Native Nurseries, it's really important to what we do. And I get a kick out of you guys because I really appreciate the fact that every Sunday morning when I click on Instagram, there's going to be a Lindsey Way post with a Bible verse on it, and I appreciate that you guys do that and you stand up. And also on another note, I get a kick out of seeing how much you guys enjoy wearing Bottomland because it.
We do.
It's kind of like a cult following.
Oh yeah,
it really is.
I'm pretty sure Jeff's got more Bottomland stuff than all of us put together.
Probably does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as y'all know, you know how Jeff. We all Bottomland. I mean, everybody bleeds all these different colors. We bleed Bottomland. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
and,
we know.
Gator Wader is coming out with this duck box. Well, I mean, I don't think it's an ammunition box. It's more just like a bag in Bottomland. And I mean, Jeffrey, he's the first one to know all this stuff. I don't know how he knows it all, but it's like, man, I got to get one of these bags. He was showing it to me the other day. But, maybe we could, if we do another podcast down the road, I can give you a little more information about my food plots in Georgia. We really don't plant them till right about now. And we've been on that elk hunt, so I really haven't been able to get my food plots in here yet. So hopefully I'll get them in within the next couple of weeks, but maybe I can have some better information on that. They always do great down here. The deer love them. So
that sounds good.
Maybe I have some more information later.
Well, the Foxworthy crew, they're not too terribly far from you. Glenn gets his in. He always tries to get them in early. And then Larry Burns on his farm, I think he replanted about 10 days ago. Hurricane Sally washed away a lot of his stuff. So you may have been a blessing not to have planted already.
Well, what gets us is army worms. They'll usually hit ours if we do them before the 1st of October. I don't know why. It's just always been that way.
They're a plague.
Yeah, and I've heard more people talking about army worms this year than usual, and it's always pretty common.
It's always dangerous when you start seeing tropical depressions line up with fall planting because I think they have a lot to do with pushing the waves of armyworms further north than they would generally be.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we got 5 inches of rain when Sally come through in like a day and a half. I know you guys probably got it worse than that. No, you're north of it, weren't you?
Yeah,
we didn't get anything.
We didn't get anything out of Sally.
Oh, gosh.
She hit right there in between Dolphin Island and Fort Morgan and went northeast.
The way the waves of that rain, the bands peeled up there, though, we got 7 inches.
Yeah.
Because I've got some food plots that they're still a pond.
Wow.
And they just completely flooded out.
And you're in North Alabama.
Mm-hmm. My question is, why can't all that rain just drown the armyworms?
Yeah.
I mean,
we need to get Ed
I'll tell you.
Yeah, did somebody say armyworms?
Now, see, we never have them in Iowa. And so we planted our plots up there on August the 8th, from the 6th through the 8th. And, of course, Austin, he's been great about helping me with this. I've been back and forth. I know I probably wore him out. Now I feel bad about it. Jeff wears him out, too. But, I mean, he's just got so much knowledge right there. And when you got somebody like that and they're as nice as he is, he don't mind sharing his information with you. It's like, I mean, we didn't get no rain till the end of the month. And I was like, what do you think, Austin? And it's like, well, it's like if you don't get any moisture on it, you're better off if that seed is set there for a little while and let that one good rain get it. So hopefully, we got about 4 inches on the 28th and 29th of August, and they seem to be doing pretty good. So you were right again, Austin. I appreciate the information you shared with me.
Yeah. I never know if it's going to be right, but people like you make me look good when it does turn out that way, so I'll take it. I know y'all were sweating bullets because it was bad dry those weeks.
Yeah, it seems like I remember y'all posting having a truck or something driving it around. Did y'all have a water truck riding it around?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's dry.
We did, but, man,
that's tough work.
Yeah.
It don't make much of an impact. I hate to say it. But
no, we've done it too.
Yeah, there's an old fire truck behind our building.
Yeah.
We're trying to, Toxie wants to convert it into a water truck, I think.
Yeah,
so
we're going to make it our
when you look at the
fertilizer.
Yeah, when you look at the math and how much water you have to put out to equal even a half-inch of rain.
There's no way.
Oh, this is,
yeah.
You feel like you're really putting a lot of water out.
It's
but
just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. David, I know when you
about
called
what
me.
it is, really.
I know when you called me, y'all had blown the pump up on it, so it really wasn't even working right. So you were having typical
Gamekeeper
farm,
problems. Yeah.
Typical
Gamekeeper problems.
Farm day.
No, that's exactly right. Gamekeeper problems. That's
Well, look,
good problems to have.
That's right. You nailed it.
Well, we've kept you long enough. We sure appreciate you letting us call you and hear the story of Mr. Mumbles. How did he get that name, Mr. Mumbles? What is the story there?
They don't let me name the deer. They very seldom let me see any pictures.
Okay. Well, that name.
Every now and then, I just have to slip around and kind of watch behind their back when they're looking at pictures on the computers and stuff. And they definitely, every now and then, they'll let me name one. Usually the ones they let me name end up being not named.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I can't come up with a clever name. Yeah. So this deer.
Old 10 point.
Well,
I mean, I want to name them Leroy or something like that. It's just kind of one of my old things.
I can tell you when y'all named Hercules, that was a good name because just the fact when somebody said, "Oh, there's Hercules," that was
exciting. You was tore up. I know.
You knew that was going to be a big, muscular specimen.
You got that right.
Mr. Mumbles kind of doesn't do that for me though. I don't know.
If you look back at his sheds when they're laying, Jeffrey had where they're laying on that table, right between the brow and the G1, the G2. Right there, it had a bunch of little bumps on the horns, like it could be at points in the future. You know how they'll just get bumps up on them and all.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that's how he got his name, Mr. Mumbles. Had all them little bumps there.
Did y'all have a name for the deer you killed that was in velvet?
No, actually, he had kind of blew up from last year and didn't really have a name on him, but he was showing up under our sawtooth.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. Call him Sawtooth.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Sawtooth and Persimmon. That sounds like a native spot right here.
I bet you can call him Sausage right now.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Yeah, anybody listening, we can help them out with some persimmon trees for sure.
Sawtooth.
I hear you.
Well, look,
them things, they did pretty good.
Oh, they do really well.
They really do.
2 of our number 1 sellers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, Persimmon and
awesome.
Sawtooth, they are.
Better go ahead and get my order in now, so I have to get me some trees this year before y'all sell out.
Well, you should.
They going quick. Call Dudley.
We can get you fixed up for sure.
Yeah. All right, Mr. David, we sure appreciate you letting us call you. And
congratulations.
Yes, and tell Miss Wanda that we said hello, and congratulations on her elk. And just tell the rest of that crew over there we said hello.
I sure will. Hey, we really do appreciate all you do for us, and what you guys stand for and all. If there's anything that we can do, y'all let us know. I'll pass the word around to everybody, too.
Same here, Mr. David.
All right.
Thanks, Mr. David.
All right. Thank you now.
All right,
yes, sir.
So, everybody, if you're not following them on Instagram, I think it's the Lindsey Way, and then there's you'll see that Jeff has got a page and Mr. David's got a page. But the Lindsey Way is an awesome page to follow, and then they have the Outdoor Channel show.
It's on Thursdays?
You know what? I have it recorded, so I just watch it at my convenience. So I'm not really sure when it comes on, to be honest with you.
But it's on the Outdoor Channel. We know that.
It is, yeah. And then the story of Hercules aired a few weeks ago. It was.
Oh, I bet you watched that one.
I did watch that. That was a great deer. What a great deer.
7:30 Eastern, Sunday night.
Boom. Good.
Outdoor Channel.
That's what I was going to say. I just didn't say it. So, well, look, why don't we pay some bills and take a break, and we'll come back and hit some more of these topics.
Do a little habit chat.
There we go.
Chat.
When I first bought this farm a short time ago, every single field was grown up with brush 8 and 10 feet high. But it went from that to this. And even though I planted biologic with very little moisture in the ground, I was really amazed at the results. I just sat in this field with my wife as she shot her very first deer. We could not be happier. We made a memory that will last a lifetime. All because of the effectiveness of the best food plot seed on the market. Biologic is better seed, pure and simple. Log on to plantbiologic.com to learn more.
Hey folks, it's Jeff Foxworthy. You know, when I was a kid, my dad bought back the farm that he had grown up on, and I absolutely loved that place. I knew every square inch of it. It truly was my favorite place on earth. And when you're looking to find a favorite place for you and your family, Mossy Oak Properties can help. Visit mossyoakproperties.com to begin your search today.
All right, everybody, welcome back. That was so interesting to listen to Mr. Lindsey talk about all
Mr.
that.
Mumbles.
Yeah, that, you know, the thing to take away from that though is
And Persimmon, the buck.
The persimmons. I think you guys were mentioning it during breaks about how every big deer you've heard of in the last.
In the South, I mean, if you hear of a big deer getting killed, especially in the velvet, it always seems like it's on persimmons.
Remember that Jimmy Riley?
Jimmy Riley.
Was that at Giles Island?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Like 180-inch deer. John Tatum was there with him filming it.
Then there's the one giant that was killed in Mississippi. One of the biggest is, was it last year? 2 years ago.
I don't know.
Persimmons are, if you can find a good persimmon tree, it's gold.
That's
and
what
your buddy old Tim Brooks killed a big old deer on a persimmon tree
Really?
in the velvet.
He killed a big deer?
Yeah, one time.
on core land.
On public.
Now, one thing about persimmons, it's almost like a curse, you know. It seems like everybody in, the South has them, but they're never in the right place. I mean, you hear David Lindsay's story is great, but I've got some really good ones, but they're like falling on top of the tractor shed. Or,
right.
It's in a spot where the thermals are terrible and you can't hunt them.
Well, we got a way to put persimmons where you want them.
We do.
How about that?
We sure do.
Persimmons, crab apples also are super attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, David mentioned the sawtooth, which is again one of the.
I think having like two different things near each other is a big deal.
Kind of like a sweet tart,
right? That group of deer that comes in, some of them may want the sawtooth, but since they're both there, that's where they're going to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, so this is about the time when we usually do the Ask Dudley questions, I think. So, Jason, if you've got those questions, we can get started on that.
Yes. I have a group of young persimmon trees. Is there a way to tell? What? Is there a way to tell the difference between male and female persimmons? Trees 3 to 6 foot tall.
Well, yeah.
Did we know David was going to talk about persimmon trees?
Actually, we didn't. But
boom.
So that's pretty much impossible. You
on
have
to the next question.
You've got to wait until they are sexually mature before you can tell if it's a boy or a girl. So it's got to be making flowers before you can tell. So that said, I have a wonderful video on the Native Nursery's YouTube page that teaches you how to graft trees. And I'm actually grafting persimmons. So you can plant your persimmons or you can find them growing on your land. And then when they're still young, you can graft a female branch to them and it will be a female. So it's a sure thing. So the answer is no. You have to wait until they start making fruit and are flowering before you can tell if it's a boy or a girl. The easiest thing to do is just graft it before it. If you're in a hurry, just graft it. It's simple. So, good question. What is the next question?
When y'all talk about prepping your sites ahead of time, what are you referring to? Digging holes, fertilizing, how far ahead?
Okay, so this person's talking about planting trees, and in some of my videos in the past, I've mentioned prepping them in advance. So what I mean is, if you've got the time and don't mind doing the work in advance, you can kind of pre-dig your hole and then backfill it with the same dirt, almost like you're making a tiny garden that you're going to plant your tree in. And I like to leave it slightly mounded, and you do that for, at least a month before you plant your trees. And it works really well with difficult soils like heavy clays that may stay waterlogged most of the winter. For the same reason that a farmer plants on top of a row, you can make that little mound for your tree, and there'll be more aeration and all that good stuff for that first year of your tree, and they really jump that way. Now, having said that, if you've got just this beautiful, well-drained sandy loam that's simple to dig up, then you don't have to do all of that. Only if it's a difficult soil, and you do it in advance and kind of let it mellow out and get nice and fluffy. The first time you dig it, it's like you're digging up little softballs and just chunks of dirt. And a tree needs that mellow soil for the roots to expand easily into. So that's why we do it. And I try to do it, if possible, 2 or 3 or 4 months in advance.
Will you go ahead and put some organic matter in there too?
You can. Don't be putting potting soil or anything like that in your hole. But if you've got some composted manure or a little compost, put that in there and it'll help it out.
Fertilizer?
You can fertilize it a little bit and even let some weeds grow in there, because the roots will help break up those chunks of dirt. And then when it's time to plant, you can spray that maybe with a little glyphosate a couple weeks before you plant. And then you have a garden-like spot to plant each of your trees. It's worth the extra time if you have it.
And you're basically just trying to create an ideal environment for root growth.
Especially the first 2, 3, 4 years of its life.
Yep. It's like very small-scale subsoiling.
Yep.
And they got to get the roots established before they can go up.
And, having said all of that, once again, if you've got a really easily workable soil like a sandy loam, there's no reason to do that.
So if they go to the YouTube page, they go to YouTube, they go to Native Nursery, and then look up, what's the name?
There's one called How to Graft a Tree, and there's also one of how to prep your planting site.
Okay.
That's a pretty widely viewed video.
And they
maybe even more than your deer hunt.
The persimmon, the grafting video is getting close to 2 million views.
Yeah. Is that right?
Proud of that.
Yeah, that's
How
awesome.
about that? So you're transgendering a tree.
Yeah, more or less.
Pretty much.
How about that? We can do it all around here. All right. Was there any more questions?
That's it for now.
That's it. Wow.
Week.
Good questions.
Well, we've had a good show. It's been interesting. Austin, we've enjoyed having you here this week.
Yeah.
To this day.
You should come back.
I will try.
All right.
Yeah, it's always fun to have.
Austin lives a couple hours down the road and does his thing over there.
Up the road.
Yeah.
It is up the road. Just a hair.
I guess Austin was the. You'll have to say how many years you've been working for Biologic. That'll tell us when we met the very first time. 20 years? 15 years at least.
Let's not say 20.
It's 15 for sure.
It's 15-ish.
Yeah.
And I thought it was longer than that.
Austin was about that big around when I first
was.
met him. He was a string bean, and now he looks like Hercules over there.
Mr. Protein.
Yeah, we go to shows. I'm always glad to have Austin walking around with me when we go to restaurants and stuff. I don't have to worry about anybody.
You were big back then.
Well, since you're so famous, all these all these people are trying to attack you.
Yeah.
Early in his career, he didn't feel so threatened. He was kind of chubby Bobby.
He was chunky Bobby.
Yeah.
We call him what was it? Mellow Yellow and Honey Bun, Bob.
Boy, I could drink a Mellow Yellow right now.
Too.
Oh my goodness.
Hunting camp was fun back then because Bobby didn't require a whole lot except sugar and starches. Yeah. What do you want for breakfast, Bobby? How about biscuits and syrup?
With a honey bun and a mellow yellow.
You literally just finished a mellow yellow and honey bun.
Now he's on the elk meat. We got him back.
That was the good old days.
Keto Bobby.
Keto Bobby. Slim
right,
Good
guys.
Body in the house. Sorry.
Well, I guess that we've about touched on everything. We've had a good time today, and we hope everybody enjoyed it, and we hope we didn't put you to sleep. But speaking of sleep, Dudley, how are you doing with the sleeping process?
I'm sleeping great.
This is awesome.
No caffeine.
So you've been 2 weeks without caffeine.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I can't do that.
Not gonna happen.
I finish up my 9th cup of coffee.
Yeah, Austin's had 3 cups of coffee just during this hour.
I think some of my gray hair is disappearing.
Wow.
I don't think so. I think your glasses are tinted or something. All right. Well, let's get ready for next week. Lanny, why don't you go ahead with your patented close?
Get us out of here, Cleve.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.